Estadio Nacional Julio Martínez Pradanos, originally known as Estadio Nacional, is the national stadium of Chile, and is located in the Ñuñoa district of Santiago. It is the largest stadium in Chile with an official capacity of 48,665. It is part of a 62-hectare sporting complex which also features tennis courts, an aquatic center, a modern gymnasium, a velodrome, a BMX circuit, and an assistant ground/warm-up athletics track. Construction began in February 1937 and the stadium was inaugurated on December 3, 1938. The architecture was based on the Olympiastadion in Berlin, Germany. The stadium was one of the venues for the FIFA World Cup in 1962, and hosted the final where Brazil defeated Czechoslovakia 3-1. In 1948, the stadium hosted the matches of the South American Championship of Champions, the competition that inspired the creation of the UEFA Champions League, 2, and of the Copa Libertadores, 3. The stadium was notoriously used as a mass imprisonment, torture, and extrajudicial execution facility by the Pinochet dictatorship following the 1973 military coup. In 2009, a complete modernization plan was unveiled for the stadium and surrounding facilities. President Michelle Bachelet said it would become the most modern stadium in South America, for the stadium was the opening and closing ceremonies, athletics, and football venue for the 2014 South American Games, and hosted the opening ceremonies and the athletics during the 2023 Pan American Games. The venue also is scheduled to host the opening ceremonies for the 2023 Para-Pan American Games. History. The stadium was built on former farmland, donated in 1918 by farmer José Domingo Canas. The first sporting event in the new stadium took place on December 3, 1938, with a friendly game between the Chilean club Colorado and Brazilian club São Cristóvão. Colorado won 6-3. It has hosted all matches of the 1941, 1945 and 1955 South American Football Championships, and several matches of the 1991 and 2015 Copa America. The stadium hosted the final stages of the 1959 World Basketball Championship. It was held outdoors because the intended venue, the Metropolitan Indoor Stadium, was not ready in time. In the early 1960s, under the government of Jorge Alessandri, the stadium was expanded to host the 1962 FIFA World Cup. The main change was that the velodrome that surrounded the stadium was replaced by galleries, thereby increasing its original capacity to around 95,000. The stadium hosted group stage games between Italy, West Germany, Switzerland and Chile, including a notoriously ill-tempered and violent clash between Italy and Chile which became known as the Battle of Santiago. Also held at the ground were a quarter-final, a semi-final, the third-place playoff, and the final, in which Brazil was crowned world champions for the second time. In the third-place playoff, Chile defeated Yugoslavia 1-0, marking the team's greatest success in international football. Today, the ground serves as the home field for both the national team and the First Division club Universidad de Chile. It also hosts non-sporting events, such as political celebrations, charity events and concerts. The stadium has been used since 1995 as the final leg of the telethon with Don Francisco, a 28-hour telecast. The stadium holds up to 100,000 people for this annual event with the Jumbotron showing the required amount to reach the goal and its current donation. Exceptions were in 2014 and 2020. The first one was cancelled due to bad weather conditions and the second due to the protection after the social outbreak. On July 5, 2008, the stadium was officially renamed Estadio Nacional Julio Martínez Pradanos, in honor of a recently deceased sports journalist. 5. Use as a detention center. Estadio Nacional de Chile after the 1973 Chilean coup d'état. After the coup d'état of September 11, 1973, that ousted President Salvador Allende, the stadium began to be used as a detention facility. An article in the Harvard Review of Latin America reported that there were over 80 detention centers in Santiago alone and gave details of the National Stadium and others. 6. Over 40,000 people spent time in the compound during the junta regime. 12,000 detainees were interned between September 11 and November 7. The field and gallery were used to hold men, while women were held in the swimming pool, changing rooms and associated buildings. Locker rooms and corridors were all used as prison facilities, while interrogations were carried out in the velodrome. 8. The Red Cross estimated that 7,000 prisoners occupied the stadium at one point, of whom about 300 were foreigners. According to the testimonies of survivors collected by the humanitarian group, detainees were tortured and threatened with death by shooting. Some were actually shot or taken to unknown locations for execution. Pinochet and other members of the junta would often take turns hollering and swearing at the detainees over the stadium's public address system. FIFA President Sir Stanley Rouse insisted the USSR team play a World Cup qualifier at the time. They however refused to do so, and Chile qualified automatically for the 1974 World Cup, where they failed to advance from a group containing both West and East Germany and Australia. The use of the stadium during the coup d'état is depicted in the 2002 documentary film Estadio Nacional, directed and produced by Carmen Luz Parrott, and in the 2007 Swedish film The Black Pimpernel, which is based on the story of Swedish ambassador in Chile Harold Edelstam and his heroic actions to protect the lives of over 1,200 people during and after the military coup. The Black Pimpernel was shot on location in Santiago. The 1982 film Missing by Greek filmmaker Kostagavris depicts the September 11, 1973 coup d'état and execution of American journalists Charles Horman and Frank Turuggi at the Estadio Nacional. In 2011, Chile set aside a section of the stadium, a section of old wooden bleachers called Escotilla 8, to honor the prisoners who were detained there. It is surrounded by a barbed wire fence. 9. 2009 to 2010 renovation. Marcelo Salas farewell match, June 2, 2009. On June 15, 2009, President Michelle Bachelet announced several infrastructure improvements in order to modernize the stadium and its immediate facilities. Out of the total 24 billion pesos, $42.3 million, contemplated in the plan, 20 billion pesos, $35.3 million, are destined to bring the stadium up to modern standards. The changes include a roof covering all the seats, which will also provide illumination, installation of seats around the entire stadium, lowering the current capacity to 47,000, a new state-of-the-art scoreboard, a 2.5 m deep 2 m wide pit will separate the track and the spectators to replace the fence, and several other changes. Because the stadium is a national monument, the facade will remain the same, with the roof structure placed on top, without modifying the exterior. The stadium was closed on August 15, 2009. The stadium was scheduled to be re-inaugurated in March 2010 to stage a double friendly match between Chile and North Korea and Panama, but the works were not finished on time. The construction of the roof has since been postponed by the government of President Sebastián Pinera due to financial constraints brought about by the February 27, 2010 earthquake. Although the stadium suffered minor damage from the earthquake, it partially opened to host the match between CF Universidad de Chile and CD Guadalajara for Copa Libertadores 2010. It was officially re-inaugurated on September 12, 2010, during Chile's bicentennial festivities. 2014 South American Games renovation. On September 12, 2010, during the Chilean bicentennial festivities, President Sebastián Pinera announced that the capacity of the stadium will be increased so as to reach 70,000 seats for the 2014 South American Games that will take place in Santiago. 10. The works are expected to begin in 2012. 11. On June 3, 2011, further renovation plans were announced by the government. The complete area surrounding the stadium will be turned into a park to be called Citizenry Park, Parque de la Ciudadanía. Over 70% of the new 64-hectare park will consist of green areas, and the rest will include new infrastructure such as a lagoon or restaurants. The new park is expected to be ready for the 2014 Games. New sporting venues will be built for the 2014 Games, such as 2 modern gymnasiums, a new heated pool for synchronized swimming, a renovated velodrome and an expanded CR, which will also serve as residence of the future Ministry of Sports. The only venues that will remain are the stadium, the main tennis court, the velodrome, the CR, the athletics track, the skating track, the hockey field and the Caracolas. 12. Attendances. The highest attendance for a match at Estadio Nacional to date is 85,268. For a Primera Division match played on December 29, 1962, Universidad de Chile defeated Universidad Católica 4-1, citation needed. In the 2016-17 season, Universidad de Chile drew an average home league attendance of 30,041 for the Apertura and 33,400